Alright, and so in this video, I'm not going to do any gameplay, but I am going to go over a ghost hunt, which I've really only touched on and shown in the previous videos. So, starting out, it does a check for a hunt when it's not hunting. It looks for specific conditions, sanity, but there also might be other special considerations with particular ghosts. It picks a spot to attempt the hunt. If there's a lit candle in that range or a lit flame on some maps, that can work to stop a hunt, fail a hunt check like an Unreal. But it doesn't use up any charges or anything on the candle as long as that candle's lit. Of course, the opposite that is a candle that's extinguished could trigger a hunt, but more on that later. Another thing it checks to see is there's a crucifix. If it's within 3 meters of that spot that it's trying to hunt from, it'll fail and use up a charge. 5 meters for demons. And then when we come to hunts, sanity is often what triggers it. 14 out of 24 of the ghosts won't hunt unless the team average sanity is below 50%. In some cases, is reported at 50%. Keep in mind, there's a lot of things in this game that drain sanity. The initial one is that passive sanity drain from the darkness, which you can negate with a candle, or at least on one player or whatever, or being in range of that candle. But on higher difficulty, that can sneak on you very quickly, especially on larger maps. You may be within hunting range by the time you really accomplished anything on a larger map. A number of the ghosts have abilities that can drain your sanity, often quietly. Like Jen has one where it can basically take 25 of your sanity very quietly. The Ure has a similar ability where it quietly shuts the door completely and then takes your sanity. The Poltergeist, a Pulsar Throw, could take 10%, I think, each time it does that, and so on and so forth. Cursed Possessions can also drain sanity, if not flat out eliminate him. Drawing the Tarot cards and drawing the Moon card, that puts you at 0 sanity. Of course, the Sun card puts you at 100. You can use the sanity pills to restore some sanity on amateur. That's about 40% per pill, which is a lot. Again, you go into nightmare or whatever, that amount goes down quite a bit. You also have to keep in mind when it's single player, it's only looking at 1 sanity. That's not going to matter. But in multiplayer, it's looking on an average. So if somebody's at 0 and somebody's at 100, that's 50% right there. It's very rare for players in multiplayer to lose sanity all at the exact same rate. So you have to keep an eye on that. And then, of course, Banshee, when you have multiple players, it picks a single target to do that sanity check. Unless that target is not inside, then it picks a secondary target. So it'll be looking at that one person. Your average sanity might be 80 or something, and one of them just happens to be below 50, and it'll start hunting. And then going to that, there's a number of ghosts that can hunt early. Like the mayor can hunt in a dark room at 60% or at light and a 40%. So it can go either way. Now keep in mind it's probably going to try to hunt from its favorite room, but it may not. So, or it may actually hunt from a room that's dark at that 60%. So keep in mind. It's also a good tell for a mare. Demon can technically hunt at any time. It has a rare-ish ability, uncommon ability, where it can literally hunt you at 100%. I have a couple of examples on my YouTube here of when it's hunted well above 90%. Otherwise, it hunts somewhere between 70 75%. It's not guaranteed to hunt that high. There's always a random chance. Yokai can hunt as high as about 75 80% if you got somebody talking. Single player, that's less likely, but multiplayer, a bunch of people talking, suddenly the yokai is hunting everybody. And on Rio, could hunt at 60%, or anytime it blows out an open flame like a lit candle, it could start a hunt. But that's a great way to do a special test on it, actually. I have some videos on that. The Raichu could hunt as high as 65% if it's nearby player electronics, which include EMF, flashlights, etc. The Mimic can be an early hunter because it can mimic any ghost. So a Mimic could be mimicking a demon and be an early hunter. And then later on it changes to a late hunter. The Fae, when it starts out young, it could hunt as high as 75%. So keep in mind for the early hunters, the most absolute dangerous one is the demon with that ability. If you don't have a setup period, like you have 5 minutes with amateur where nothing's going to be able to hunt, but after that, or if you're on professional or higher, you have no setup time. So literally, you could walk in the door, demon hunt you, you're dead. And yes, that's happened to me. I think my record was being killed in about 40 seconds. But there's also a few late hunters. Like the mare is only at 40% when it's in a light room. The shade's an interesting one because it can take forever to get it to hunt because it hunts at 35%, and it won't hunt if it's currently in a room with a player. So that can really throw you off. And that can make it very dangerous because people will drop their guard, they're not paying attention, they're talking, they're getting bored, then it hunts, then it kills. The Dialkin or Diogen hunts at 40%, and the Mimic could be a late hunter, again, depending on what it mimics. You start out with the pre-hunt checks. It's not the same as an actual hunt, so keep that in mind. It's not an event. The actual hunt check is pretty much quiet. A ghost event and ghost hunt are not the same thing. People, especially new players, often get confused when a hunt's not counting as an event and an event's not counting as a hunt. During an event, it's going to manifest or do something, but it's not a hunt. It checks to see if basically the conditions allow for a hunt, so sanity or other things. The conditions allow, it does kind of a pre-hunt check. If it picks a spot, the crucifix can nullify that hunt attempt and it uses up a charge. Keep in mind there's 2 charges on the crucifix. Originally, they've changed how the crucifix work. Originally, the chain was very small. Like in the very beginning, there was nothing to tell you that only 1 charge had been used up, and when 2 charges were used up, the item literally just disappeared. And then they started doing burn marks, and now the thing catches in this big whoosh of flame both times. So if you're remotely close to it, you'll hear something audio, and you'll see a visual component. A lit candle or a lit flame acts as a crucifix for the Onryo, but it doesn't use up any charges. Again, the opposite side is if it extinguished one, it can instantly hunt. And then there is a cooldown, about 20 seconds for demon, 25 for I think everything else, before it can try to hunt again. That used to be a lot lower, so it could blow through crucifix charges a lot faster. The smudge stick has a debuff. If you cleanse the area, around the ghost, it can prevent a hunt from actually happening for 90 seconds in most cases, but Shade's 180 seconds. Actually, wait, that should be Spirits. 180 seconds. But Demon's only 45, so keep that in mind. And then if a hunt actually starts, you may have a thing called a grace period. On Amateur, that's 5 seconds, 2 seconds on the other ones, or down to 2 seconds on the other ones, and I think Intermediate it's either 3 or 4. But that's 0 seconds if it's a hunt. You get no grace period with a cursed hunt. Normal hunts after a cursed hunt, though, still have a normal grace period, so having a cursed hunt doesn't eliminate that grace period if you have one. During that period, it can't see, detect, or kill anybody, so that's the time to act. 5 seconds sounds like a lot of time. It is not, especially if you're not ready for dealing with a hunt. You're wondering what's going on. Why is the lights flickering? Why do you hear some ghost? And by that point, the 5 seconds is up. Now, what actually happens in a hunt? The exits from all the location, they all close and they lock. That's important. Doors may close during a ghost event. They won't lock. You can hear a lock sound, especially on Tanglewood. You can hear it from almost anywhere on the map. On bigger ones, you may be nowhere near the exit door, so you may not get those indicators that a hunt has started and the lights are flickering, and then suddenly your, electronics are going weird. Bigger locations also, you could still be doing everything just fine. You don't have to worry because the ghost could be on the other side of the map dealing with somebody else. The ghost can kill players only during hunt. Can't kill them in an event. There's nothing else that can kill a player. The hunt duration itself is based on a couple of factors: the difficulty, the location size, whether it's a normal versus a cursed hunt, and on Nightmare and Insanity, if it kills a player, it gets a longer duration to go find and kill more. On lesser difficulties, it will end when it's killed a player. So that can be an advantage in a multiplayer thing on like amateur, intermediate, or professional, where somebody else dies, suddenly you're fine. So keep in mind, once you get experience with the game, you'll have an idea of exactly how long that duration is, and you can be counting out the seconds. Maybe running away from a ghost where if it has a few more seconds, you're dead, but suddenly it ends and you're done. Um, so next is, well, how does a ghost act during a hunt? Well, it can hear players' voices and it can detect their electronics to a range of about 9 to 10 meters. With a yokai that's even shorter, it's only 3 meters. So don't talk, put away your electronics or drop them. A dropped electronic won't be detected. If you have a motion sensor or sound sensor deployed around you, that's fine. It won't detect you from that. The actual ghost speed is just slightly faster than the player. Originally, the ghost was actually slightly slower, so you didn't necessarily need to hide from the ghost. You could just loop it around a couch or something. You can still do that in certain cases. So a player walking is about 1.6 meters a second, and a ghost is about 1.7. Um, Keep in mind, though, most ghosts, not all ghosts, but most ghosts speed up when they're in line of sight of their target, and they'll slow down over time when they're not. So if you're wondering why that ghost just suddenly zoom towards you, it could be its ability, or it could be the fact that it gains up quite a bit of speed when it has you in line of sight. You can use doors to block that line of sight, go sharply around walls, corners, crouching for that. There'll be disruption to any player electronics in about a range of 9 to 10 meters. Um, you'll hear footsteps within about the same range, except for a myling, where it has to be a lot closer for you to actually hear the footsteps. So that's a good tell for a myling. You'll see flickering lights. It will throw and touch objects. If it's a poltergeist, it'll do that 100% of the time. Everything it runs into, it will start throwing or touching. With other ones, I believe it's 50 or 80%, something like that. When the hunt ends, it'll turn off all the lights, but it's not turning off the fuse box with that, so you can just go up and turn the lights. But suddenly all the lights go out, you know the hunt's over. Now, the hunt itself actually has two phases, a wandering phase and a chase phase. This is a really important distinction. When it's doing a wandering phase, it'll select waypoints where it last saw the player, or it'll just pick random points and start searching. That means even under the best of circumstances, there's still always a chance that it will find you. When it sees a target, it'll go into a chase phase and it'll focus on that target. Its speed could go up and down depending on factors, especially line of sight. Um, when you light a smudge stick within 6 meters of it, it can disorient it, puts it back into a wandering phase of sorts for 6 seconds, in most cases 12, the Moroi. Again, that could be a tell from Moroi. And it can't kill the target during that time. There have been times where there's been some kind of issue or bug where it still killed somebody who ran through it. So if you can help it, don't do that just in case. It can change targets when you've got multiple players. The Banshee focuses on one target for the entire hunt. You can literally have everybody else walk through it and it won't matter. The Oaken focuses on the nearest target and it can switch to a nearer player really suddenly. So keep that in mind if you've got a Dioken. So next is the crucifixes. They're the things that stop hunt checks in most cases. A hunt without them is always very risky because a demon could start in right at the beginning. It blocks the check, it fails the check, but it won't stop a hunt already in progress. And it's 3 meters for most things, 5 meters for demons. And it uses up a charge. Yes, you can hold it in your hand. If it tries to go within that range while it's holding your hand, it'll burn up and you'll automatically drop it. Originally, you didn't drop it. Cursed hunts, though, are completely immune to crucifixes. You can have a stack of them where it's trying to hunt, and if it's a cursed hunt, it won't matter. There is a cooldown. It uses a crucifix. Is about 25 seconds for most ghosts, 20 seconds or so for demon. It used to be a lot shorter, so this is an improvement. Most of the hunts will come from its favorite room, but not all hunts. Some ghosts will do something else. A Banshee, a Phantom, and a Wraith may go to a random player and start the hunt from them. This is more of an issue with Banshee and Wraith, because a Phantom actually has to walk there. But keep that in mind, and keep that in mind that it may not be where the crucifix is. Even in something like the utility room in Tanglewood, that's such a small room that it may appear in the garage, or the kitchen, or whatever around there. It's still in range to do that, and the crucifix may not do anything. Now, the crucifix range does go through walls, so it may stop an attempt that's just over the wall, but still in the range. You get 2 crucifixes in larger rooms. You're probably going to need them to make it possible. There's some rooms like the gymnasium and the high school. Good luck with preventing something there. You could do a dozen hunts trying to get it to below crucifix charge. Good idea. If you might be facing a demon, find that room, start throwing those crucifixes down, especially in the setup period. And then keep in mind a lit candle, open flame, functions like a crucifix with an Onryo, but it doesn't blow any charges. So another way you can prevent hunts is the smudge stick. Use a smudge stick within 6 meters of a ghost, puts a debuff on it, stops hunts for 90 seconds, 45 of the demon, 180 for a spirit. And it checks every second for 6 seconds to apply that debuff. So if it's outside the range the first second, then it's inside the range the next second, it'll still count. It'll try 6 times to put that debuff on whatever. That way you move around a little bit in case you're not in range, but there are ways to figure out if you're in 6 meters of that ghost. It doesn't apply that effect during a hunt, but it starts to cool down from that moment. So if it's 90 seconds and you've got 5 seconds left on the hunt, it's still going to be there for 85 more seconds. Then you have the hunt cooldown. It's about 20-25 seconds. So yeah, keep in mind you have to be in 6 meters. Doesn't matter if you're in the same room. It has to be the 6 meters, which makes using a smudge stick, especially to get the objective, really annoying in larger rooms. So there are some objectives where you're going to have to get it to hunt. There's 2 of them in particular. One is repel the ghost with a smudge stick while it's chasing, and the other one is to escape the hunt. You need to get it into chase mode in both cases before that'll actually kick, because that way it stops you from just sitting safely in a closet somewhere where it's perpetually into wandering mode. That makes getting those objectives potentially difficult, although easier on multiplayer. So yeah. Now, when you're doing a repel, that smudge stick can be lit by somebody who's not the current target. So if you got a Banshee and you already know who it's going to target, you could have somebody else walk right through the Banshee and pop the smudge stick. It's not going to kill the non-target. And that'll still count as long as it's being chased. And that player's got to survive the hunt at that point. The cleanse thing can also be done during a hunt as well. It still counts as long as it's affecting. Some other objectives you can get done on the hunt. Ghost photo, potentially. Motion sensor, it sets that off. EMF, and some others. It's a risky way to do it, but triggering a hunt, sometimes you can get through a lot of stuff very quickly. Then we have a thing called cursed hunts, which weren't originally in the game, but then they added cursed possessions. It's caused by an interaction with a cursed possession, although it's possible for that possession to just lower your sanity and just create a normal hunt as well. For example, looking into the mirror reduces your sanity. It's only a cursed hunt if you break the mirror while you're doing that. If it hunts normally otherwise, it's still a normal hunt. Cursed hunts, nothing happens with a crucifix or a candle, whatever, they just happen. The cursed hunt duration is longer, and all hunts, even normal ones after that, will have an increased duration. It adds 20 seconds to that hunt and then to all other hunts. Taking an example, the amateur Tanglewood, all the hunts are mostly been 15 seconds, but if we get a cursed hunt, that hunt and every hunt from then on is 35 seconds. And then this can go to the extreme. Nightmare, prison, you could have a minute hunt versus a minute 20 hunt. A minute 20 is a lot of time for a ghost to find you. So yeah, keep that in mind. So in conclusion, ghost photos are possible during a hunt, but they're really risky. I've gotten them plenty of times myself, but it flickers during a hunt, and if it's flickered out when you're taking the photo, you may not get the photo. Although the flicker rate there's some ghost tells on the flicker rate, like the Phantom is invisible more, for example, and the Oni is visible. I No, yeah, no. A phantom is invisible more, and an oni is visible more. So if you look carefully, one thing that really throws off new players is not knowing the difference between a ghost event and a ghost hunt. If it needs you to witness a ghost event, it has to be a ghost event, not a hunt. Key thing there is a hunt is the only thing that will lock the exits. There's also cursed possession with the monkey paw, but that's more advanced topic. A ghost event still may slam the exit door, may make you think. But keep in mind, during a hunt, the ghost flickers. It doesn't flicker during a manifestation or an event. Even if it's coming at you, you'll notice it's not flickering. If you're in a team game and you notice nobody's being freaked out by the fact that there's like a girl on all fours in a crab walk flying right towards you, it's because they know it's an event, not a hunt. Key thing to deal with a hunt: be vigilant, be on your toes, be ready for it. The second you walk in that door, once you don't have a setup period anymore, just assume that a demon could be hunting you or a mimic mimicking a demon. Get those crucifixes down early. In a favorite room, that's like in many cases when somebody's looking for the favorite room in a team game, they're carrying a crucifix ready to go at that point to throw it down. Even if it doesn't cover the entire room with that first crucifix, that's better than nothing. Be really careful when you're using cursed possessions. You can do the game without them. You don't immediately have to jump on the Ouija board and ask it to play hide and seek. Be weary of trolls in multiplayer games. And even if you do everything right, there is still always a chance that the ghost will find you and kill you. It's random chance. It could literally just happen to wander to where you are, and that's what happens. If you die, well, try to learn. Maybe for next time, maybe improve your chances. But even the best of us die. So I think that covers all the basics of a hunt. So keep those things in mind when you're watching my games or you're playing your own.